This is my first tutorial on From the Depths, which is in early release on Steam. I'm going to do a quick tutorial of the engine construction, which seems to confuse some people and took a little bit of time for me to learn as well. So let's take a second to load the game up. So here you go. This is the start menu. We're going to go to the vehicle designer and wait for it to load. Just playing around a little bit, showing you that you can fire your gun, you have a sword. I'm currently using the helicopter robot. I forget what his name is. I have not unlocked everything yet, only the musket and the pistol. So first thing we're going to look at is constructing a platform. So I'm going to build some wooden blocks. So first thing you can see is I'm starting to build, but actually there's a faster way. If you hit N, you can mirror it on both sides, which allows you to build much more quickly. And on a later tutorial I'll go over the other functions of building, but this is just the fastest way to build a quick flat platform. As you can tell, the platform I'm on is floating currently. It's because in build mode you can sit in the water, but it is disorienting, and so the producer and developer of the game added a float function which you can hit with caps lock. This allows you to float the thing you're building in the air. You can also hit N again to change the way the function mirrors. You'll have to play with it a little bit. If you hit N twice, it moves it over one block, which allows you to kind of adjust more precisely what you're mirroring or where you're mirroring it. You can see there's wood blocks. Anything that's highlighted in green has multiple build options. You can see anything that's not just takes you straight to the square block. Look at all the different kinds of blocks. I'm going to demonstrate a few ways of building. Depending on which directions you're looking at, it changes the way the block builds. This is important for the engine in particular because the engine requires that you build it in a certain direction and attach the pieces in a certain direction. If you also hit Tab, it allows you to build the block upside down, so you can see all the different ways a block can be shaped. It's most noticeable with blocks that are not square. So you can look at all the different tabs. More specifically, we're going to focus on engines, but there are a variety of other important tabs that we'll go through at a later date. You can see I'm using the beta version, you can see I'm using the version that allows you to access features the developer has not yet added. So let's delete these blocks. So let's take a moment to pause and quickly look at the different pieces of an engine. You start out with the engine block, then you move to the crankshaft, then the cylinders, then the carburetors, At that point, the engine's own fuel tank, supercharger, and exhaust can be added to their respective pieces. Those blocks in particular can be added in a variety of places. Most importantly, the engine block, crankshaft, cylinder, and carburetor are required to be put in a particular order, or the engine won't function. I'm not going over electric engines right now for a variety of reasons, mostly because they are not particularly useful at this moment, and because they function in a little bit different way. So we're going to find a decent space to add the engine. You're going to need at least a few blocks on the side of it. One you can see is if I add it in the wrong spot, the crankshaft, it does not register on the engine. And that's the quickest way to tell, so you don't build an engine on accident that does not function. So you can see now it has one crankshaft attached, and so we'll build a few crankshafts here. So it's nice if you wait a moment, you can tell that it's been connected to the engine. This also lets you know for sure that the piece properly fits. So then there's the carburetor, which then attaches to the cylinder. So if you move to the side, you can see all the places the object can possibly attach. This is useful, particularly when building in confined spaces. So these fuel tanks increase the flow of fuel to the engine and the fuel efficiency. One thing to note, and these are the superchargers, which allow you to increase the level of power you get. It does seem, as of right now, that pieces like fuel tanks and superchargers are shared between cylinders, which means that you need only one to increase the efficiency of each one. I don't know if that's going to change or if that's a bug. So you can see now that this one has 1 and 1, and that has 1 and 1. And now you can see that it has 2 superchargers and 1 fuel tank. And these are exhausts. As you can see, they help make the cylinders a little bit more efficient, in addition to producing smoke, which as of right now has no effect on the game. So you can see that it's attached, and you can see that the one next to it, though, does not have a exhaust attached. So I can show you that you can attach a bunch of exhausts and increase the fuel efficiency right here. And this is a connector. This isn't particularly important if you're building engines that need to fit in confined spaces. So we're going to build a few more exhausts to show you their effect on different engines. So if you look, you can see that the engine is currently functioning, how many fuel tanks, cylinders, crankshafts, exhausts, etc. that it has attached to it. And you can see the power that it could generate. But if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you can see that the power icon is lit up, but the fuel icon is not. This is where I think a lot of people run into problems, because the engine's own fuel tank piece leads you to believe that this provides fuel for the engine, which is not exactly true. There is another piece which is required, and you can see if you turn the engine on and off with Q that it shows that it's not providing power. So the fuel storage tank provides fuel to the engine. This now allows the engine to generate power. Though it does show that it's generating power beforehand, I believe that is a bug, but I think that will change in the future so that it's a little less misleading. And this is a fuel processor. Many larger vehicles need this because though you can attach a lot of fuel tanks, they do become very heavy very quickly and are not particularly well armored blocks. The fuel processor allows you to generate fuel, though it does take engine power. So now we're going to add a little bit more power to this engine so that I can show you what it sounds like when the engine is in fact running. Another easy way to build an engine is to create a mirrored area over the engine so that you can then mirror all sides. Something to note, you do not need to add this much to an engine, and often if you're playing a campaign mode, you won't have the resources to add this much power to an engine. Engines like these can be something this large, could be used to power a very large vehicle. Later on, I'll show you what a small boat requires in terms of an engine. So one of the easiest way to tell if an engine is running is to see if you can hear it. So we can put the shield on and require a great deal of power be provided to it. If you look down in the left corner, it says power use, and it shows the percentage that you're providing. So as we add more, you can hear it getting louder. So this is the power use, and you can see that we're not providing enough power to it, and so it's blinking on and off. Something to note that the most important block of the engine is, of course, the engine block. If you destroy the engine block, the entire engine ceases to function. So when building a vehicle, it's important to take into consideration that the engine block is the most important block. If you destroy it, the engine itself stops functioning until it's rebuilt. You can hear as the engine stops, though the pieces continue to move. That may be, again, another bug. If you do destroy a piece of the crankshaft, it seems like, as of right now, the rest of the crankshaft continues to function, though that may just display on the screen. So you can see that the engine will continue to function with missing pieces of the crankshaft or other pieces. This is important as you can provide protection to only the engine block and leave the rest of the pieces more out in the open, though the engine is likely considered the most important part. Another thing to be concerned about is ammo barrels, which should not be placed anywhere near the engine as they're highly explosive. And will quickly result in your engine no longer existing. So let's load up a vehicle. This is one of the starter vehicles. The Volley is a small ship. It's armed with lots of cannons, though, and it's quite frustrating to fight if you have a flying ship, which it will quickly blow up all your balloons. You can see this small engine in the Volley. This is all that's required to power something. So let me move this gentleman here so that I can use the ship. As you can see, the controls have already come up. Just feel like killing him. So first things first, you can hit T, which just increases the power to the vehicle. And you can see as I go down here that the engine is now running. You can see the fuel starting to decrease. And I'm trapped in a wall. Again, this game is in alpha. Likely this is because the ship is moving forward and I'm not rooted to the ship in any way. This rarely happens, I think. So I'm just going to quickly change into moving mode using the free camera, and you can just take a look at the engine. So let's take a look around the ship, and if we go down and look at the engines, or excuse me, if we go down and look at the propellers, you can see that they're moving. Again, it's moving away from the camera, which is causing me to have to move forward. You can tell that they're all functioning, and you can actually adjust what force they function at in case you want to have lots of spare engines that function at a lower rate. And that is how you build an engine. Let's quit. So that is how you build an engine. If you have any more questions, feel free to post them in the comments below, or you can take a look at fromthedepths.com/forum to take a look at the forum, or use the Steam forums. The developer Nick Smart is generally on the forums once a day, and he's very much willing to answer questions and take suggestions. On top of that, there's a pretty active community on both the forums, on Steam, and the website. One thing to note is that engines cannot currently be built upright, it seems, though that may change in the future. I did not go over the electric engine as well, as it functions a little bit differently, and I will show you in a later tutorial. Thank you for watching, and here is a parting image of a vehicle I created using From the Depths. I hope you enjoy. It's called Wrecking Ball.